Welcome to the Nerd Party.
It's not working.
Well, how long since you've cleaned the heads?
The what?
The heads. Do you have any alcohol?
To drink?
What? No, to clean it. Check the tracking.
The rental place closes in 2 hours.
Shut up. It's working.
Time for a RetroPerspective.
Hello and welcome to RetroPerspective, the show where we look at all of the movies released 25 years ago this week. I'm Mike.
I'm John.
And today we're taking a look at the movies released on December 9th, 1994.
Mm-hmm.
Only 3 movies this week.
Yeah. It starts slowing down near the end of the year.
Yeah. It's kind of strange. You'd think it'd be picking up. Well, I guess the last week or two. I mean, we talked about this last time, the beginning of December, it's always kind of a slow, it's not a slow week necessarily, but it's a week when there's not a lot of stuff coming out because everybody just released all of their stuff for Thanksgiving.
Right.
So like we said this year, the big 2 movies this week are Playmobil, the movie,
yep,
and Dark Waters is getting expanded. And both of those are barely playing in anywhere, which is why Apollo 11 is now in IMAX theaters again this week. Because why not? Yeah. So Joker is back in IMAX too, apparently.
Yes, but I only have Limax around me, so,
Yeah. What can you do?
Yeah.
So 3 movies. The first did not chart on the box office charts, but it is 81% on Rotten Tomatoes, and that movie is Queen Margot.
Yes.
I take it you didn't watch this.
No, I didn't. I did not. It did not pique my interest.
Yeah. It's a period piece and everything. It did seem interesting. I mean, the trailer that I saw for it, they were like, watch this director's cut. And it's like the epic tale of, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if it was just the way that the trailer was cut or whatever, but they used more modern music and stuff.
Yeah.
And it made it seem like a really cool sort of hip, edgy, period piece. And I liked the idea of that, but, maybe not enough to actually watch the movie. So.
No, that's stuff like that always seems like a trap, to be honest with you.
Well, sometimes, sometimes it works. The example that comes to mind is The Knick with the Cliff Martinez, electronic score.
Which I still,
awesome.
I'm not talking about in the context of the movie. I'm talking about
trailers.
The trailers and stuff like that. When it's this is a hip historical movie. It's that's
when
always,
it's not, it's disappointing.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. So moving on, number 3 at the box office with $8.2 million and 41% on Rotten Tomatoes. Drop Zone,
starring Wesley Snipes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this movie, but I'll always remember it because about a week before Generations came out, I was in the Forest Park Mall. So it was a long time ago because the Forest Park Mall is now completely boarded up except for an old country buffet and that's basically it now. Yeah, it's just an old country buffet.
Right.
The back of it is now a church. Mm-hmm. And then there's a rental car place there too, where the movie theater used to be. But I was walking through the mall, and while my dad was at Venture, that's how long ago this was, and there was a guy taking out the big bus shelter sized poster for Star Trek Generations and putting up a Drop Zone poster in its place. And I walked up to him and I'm like, excuse me, what do you do with those posters after you take them down? And he's like, I give them to kids who ask for them. And then he gave me the bus shelter for Generations,
That's
which was
awesome.
amazing because it's like massive, like,
Yeah.
and I had that up on it took up like my entire wall in my bedroom. It was pretty awesome. Yeah.
That's very cool. That's very cool. I didn't see Drop Zone when it was released,
Me either.
but I watched it this time.
And how did that go?
Well, it was included in Amazon Prime, and I said,
Oh.
no extra money?
It's free.
There you go. Well, that's fine. Oh, I'm sorry, opening credits. Gary Busey is also in this movie? Well,
Yeah.
Well, goodness gracious. That has my interest piqued. It's about as good as you think it would be. It is, okay. It is bizarre to me that earlier in the year, there's Terminal Velocity with Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
Parachute skydiving thing going on. Then there's Wesley Snipes, Drop Zone, parachute skydiving thing. So I wasn't part of this crowd or anything, but all I can think is that in 94, extreme sports came to include parachuting or something. Like it was
Probably.
the rage, because this is definitely focus grouped. We need a parachute movie sort of thing. Wesley Snipes is a U.S. Marshal. And Malcolm Jamal Warner is his brother, who's also a U.S. Marshal.
Oh, that's cool.
And they are transporting Michael Jeter, who is some sort of computer whiz, to by commercial airline to go solve a code or some nonsense, whatever. I don't even remember now. And then, of course, Gary Busey gets on the plane. If you saw somebody like Gary Busey just get on a plane, you would immediately, the hackles on the back of your neck go up and you would say something is wrong. And the fact that he shows up with all of these other people that don't look entirely trustworthy, and you're like, oh boy, something's going to happen. So of course I'm going full spoiler because trust me, this is an experience that is spoiler proof, but the, jailbreak, they're grabbing Michael Jeter. Think the opening of The Dark Knight Rises, only incompetently made.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. And they bite off Michael Jeter's finger so that there's, evidence that he's there. And
wow. It sounds like Dark Knight Rises really did rip off Drop Zone.
ripped off Drop Zone. But as they're getting out of this commercial airliner, shootout ensues. People think Wesley Snipes just shot at them, which caused the bomb to go off when it was really a shaped charge. And Wesley Snipes immediately deduces, no, it was they were taking him for whatever, and everybody's saying no, they'd be ripped apart by the forces at that range. And one thing leads to another. He falls in with a rather attractive woman who runs a parachute diving school. And the pilot in residence is Laura Palmer's mother, Grace Zabriskie. And, Corin Nemec is in it as the lovable sidekick. And that's about as good as it gets. This is a fascinating movie to watch from a process standpoint because the cuts between scenes are so quick that it's about an hour and a half. You can tell it was edited down to the bone, that there was like an hour and 45, hour and 50 minute version of this movie. And somebody saw it and said, no, we need as many showings as possible in the first week. And because it's literally where there's no even reaction time after certain lines, where Gary Busey will say, well, then that's what we're going to do. And then it's just like a smash cut into a car driving. And it's like, wait, what? Like, you don't even get to see the other person react or anything. It seems like they literally cut it off before the last part of the final syllable even got out of his mouth, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty darn bad. So...
Yeah, it doesn't sound too good. Although, Gary Busey, he's great. Do you remember that reality show they had with him where it was like Busey and Me, I think was the name of it?
I do. That's where the clip, I will tear out your endocrine system, comes from. Yes.
Yeah, that show was great. Friend of mine, he swears that he had a close encounter with Gary Busey because he was walking down the street in our hometown, right next to the movie theater, actually. And there was an Italian restaurant next door, and they had like tables out in front of the restaurant where you could eat. And he sees a guy smoking a cigar at one of the tables at the restaurant. And he's like, is that Gary Busey? Like, and he like, did one of those things where like he kind of like stops and tilts his head and like looks at the guy, and he made eye contact with the guy, and the guy just kind of nodded like, yep, it's me. Yeah. And then that was it. And he's like, I'm 99% positive that was Gary Busey.
Well, he should be grateful that he met him on a good day. 'Cause the show that I think of is when he went on Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew. And Tawny Katane and Steve Adler, the original drummer from Guns N' Roses, were part of that class. I think it's all trace. Honestly, yes, Gary Busey had his issues with drugs and everything, but there was that motorcycle accident where he had an accident and, he hit his head really bad. He wasn't wearing a helmet and everything. And Celebrity Rehab, they even said, they're like, we're pretty sure that you got rewired in that thing. And but Busey, before any diagnosis or anything or anybody had tried to start helping him or anything on screen, wow, man. You can even see there's one scene at a bar where you can see that he ad-libbed the amount of touchy-feely between him and the female co-star. Like, you see her body language go like shocked, rigid sort of thing. Because he was, in character on camera and stuff like that. So,
yeah. Well, so no to Drop Zone.
I would not recommend it, no.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the other movie that came out this week, which came in at number 1 at the box office with $13.6 million and 58% on Rotten Tomatoes, so not too bad. Disclosure,
which I'm guessing you watched.
I did. Have you seen it?
Oh yeah, I've seen it more than once. I saw it in the movie theater. Was this your first time encountering Disclosure?
Yes, it is.
I'm fascinated. I want to know what your reaction was.
I remember all the ads. Like all the ads were on the back of like comic books back in the day and everything like that. And, it's one of those, 90s, kind of erotic thriller things, which seem to pop up all over the place. And I've tried to watch them all this year, and there's a lot of them. And, I was going into it kind of thinking like, okay, I guess this is what, whatever. But then, you see like, oh, it's based on a book by Michael Crichton. It's directed by Barry Levinson. Yep. It's from the writer of, or the co-writer of Schindler's List. Hey, let's check this out. And Michael Douglas, is in it. For those people who don't know, it's a movie. You know what I'm going to do? Because I saw the poster and I thought it was hilarious. Okay. Let me read the very lengthy paragraph which appears on the poster. You've been summoned by your new boss to a confidential late night meeting. A drink is on the table and your future is on the line. But before you can catch your breath, an unwanted sexual advance he's put you in the most compromising of all positions. Now it's going to be your word ... against hers. Get it? Yep. Yeah. So like basically Michael Douglas plays a guy at a company he's up for a promotion and he gets passed over for this new person who's played by Demi Moore, and they have a past. They used to date, but now he's married with kids and everything, and she sexually harasses him. And now she's trying to ruin his career and also claim that he assaulted her. And now he's got to prove his innocence and all this other stuff. It's a very weird premise and one that doesn't really work. And that's, I mean, it's fine. I would say it's a good movie, but the one thing which nobody ever told me about, like, it's set in like Silicon Valley and everything, and there's like all this tech stuff going on, and it's kind of interesting to hear people talk about like CD-ROMs and just like everything, from the 90s. Any use of email is just like super bizarre, and it's like is that how it worked back then? Okay, no. This seems strange.
No, it didn't work that way back then.
Nobody ever told me that like the climax of this movie takes place in this virtual reality program where like a pixelated Michael Douglas is like walking around trying to find files that'll prove his innocence, while like a wireframe figure with Demi Moore's head on it is like chasing him around with like a laser, deleting files. Why doesn't anybody tell me these things? If someone would have told me that's how this movie ended, I would have watched it years ago.
Well, the thing that I'll give this film a lot of credit for, besides the fact that it's remained topical because of the types of things with Harvey Weinstein and stuff like that have been in the headlines and everything, is that Crichton, like any terrific science fiction author, figures out a way to twist the premise a little bit so that the people that would typically not engage in a conversation about this topic suddenly find themselves having to deal with the principle of it, because it's no longer a reflex action to talk about it. So the simple flip of putting Demi Moore in the aggressor position suddenly turns the conversation into, oh my God, no, that's terribly wrong. No, nobody should ever do that. Oh, geez, he has every right to be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you can just take that and just flip it and say, so why would you say otherwise in a different situation, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so, what's interesting too, even though we weren't able to track it down and watch a copy, this stuff was very much being discussed essentially in '94 about the treatment of women in and the sort of the yours, mine, and the truth sort of stuff that comes into play and those sorts of things. And it's almost as if it's really interesting. And this is going to seem like a stretch, but trust me. Not so long ago, I was listening back to some of Ice-T's early albums, and then especially his first Body Count album, and it was one of those things where you suddenly realize there were people talking about this and expressing these sorts of concerns, but people just weren't picking up on it. Like it was, it's weird. It's like there were people picking up on it and watching it and saying, oh yeah, no, well, this is terrible, sort of thing. But people were sending out the message, these are problems. We got to talk about this. It's just getting worse. And this is one of those movies that sort of, puts it out there. So.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was interesting. I thought it was pretty well done. And the performances were good. Michael Douglas is always pretty solid, and Demi Moore was really good. And it had like a kind of an interesting structure in that it all takes place over the span of a week,
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool the way that they did that. It started off a lot stronger than it finished.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as I love the virtual reality stuff because of how ridiculous it is, like the setup and everything, I thought was like really strong. And then it just kind of like peters out.
Yeah.
But there were a couple of kind of like deep cut Star Trek actors in it. Susie Plaxton, who plays, Worf's love interest, and also Dr. Solar, and also Q on Voyager, right? She's all over the place. She's got like tons and tons of roles on Star Trek. She's in it. And her character was cool too, even though she wasn't in it much. Like she's the character who's like, hey, everyone's talking about like the people who were in line for this position, and there's a bunch of like heads of departments, and I'm one of those heads of departments, and yet no one ever considered me because I'm a woman, right?
Yep.
And so that was kind of interesting. And then there's another Star Trek actress in here, the woman who plays Sulu's daughter in Generations, which came out just last month. She shows up in this, and it's well made, but it sort of lacks the weight or seriousness of something that you might expect from this.
Yeah, I mean, it's much stronger if it ends with getting the file and then a courtroom reckoning sort of thing, instead of to your point. Yes, it's kind of silly the way that it goes. So
yeah.
But Donald Sutherland is fun to see in it, and Dennis Miller, just as he was starting to break into more film work.
Yeah.
So
back before he was on Monday Night Football, right?
Oh yes. Oh yeah. This well predates Monday Night Football debacle. Yeah.
That was a weird time. I mean, I was all for it, but whatever.
Know your audience.
And this is the second Barry Levinson movie this year. The first one being Jimmy Hollywood, which I watched, but I like, we were talking about Terminal Velocity a few minutes ago, and I'm like, did I watch that one?
Yeah.
And I did watch it, but I barely remember it. And same thing with Jimmy Hollywood. That was not a good movie, but whatever.
Yeah. It's it's really interesting too, because there's such a punctuation about the unevenness for the year. Again, yes, we've made this point, but like you go back to, what happened earlier this year with like those incredible films being released earlier than anticipated. And now it's reverting back to what the rest of the year was. And it's like, oh no, go back to the other one. I don't want to go back to this time.
It is kind of strange, because usually what you would see this time of year, even if you do have all those other great ones which came out earlier, is you'd see, in addition to the big blockbusters, like a lot of movies which are trying to get that Oscar. Like they're not good, but they've slotted themselves in this position because they're preparing for the nominations.
That's going to come up next week.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I guess it will, and I haven't seen any of the movies for next week yet, but I'm there's one I'm campaigning so hard I want you to watch. Because I gotta get your reaction to it. I have to. Would that be Immortal Beloved?
No, Mike, no. You know what come on.
Oh, I thought for sure that's what it would be.
Oh, no. I mean, that's definitely in the you just watched the trailer. Like I rewatched the trailer because you put together the trailers, and everything. And rewatching that, I'm like, oh yeah, this was Oscar bait, the movie, starring Gary Oldman. I'm like, I was in The Professional a couple of weeks ago, and I was actually, that's a better movie than this. But whatever, it's fine.
Yeah.
And but no, Dumb and Dumber. I want you to watch Dumb and Dumber so bad.
Okay, well, I very well may. I was debating between Dumb and Dumber and Speechless, because like I thought, like, okay, Dumb and Dumber, well, it's directed by Peter Farrelly. He's made a couple of movies which I've liked, including Green Book. 25 years ago, he won the Oscar. But it looks so bad. I mean, like, that is not my type of humor at all.
What, Speechless?
No, Dumb and Dumber. It looks so bad. But then, like, Speechless, like, I watched the trailer for that, and I'm like, this seems like it's up my alley. And then I see, like, the reviews, and I'm like, okay, well, nobody liked it. Nobody. Like, okay, if it's getting that bad reviews, then...
I will say this. That I was asked flat out by somebody when I was talking to him at work about having watched Drop Zone for this show. And I said, and I, went into, all the detail and everything. And he looked at me and he said, do you have like a propensity for self-harm or something like that? He's like, why are you doing that? I'm like, just to see if I can take it. And that's why I would jump into Speechless is number one, I love Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton is freaking great. And everybody forgets he was this comedic film star before he became Batman. And so seeing him try to gravitate back toward that is fascinating to me because it's him trying to rediscover his roots sort of thing. And it's like, and, he's got The Paper. That was this year, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. So there's The Paper. I haven't seen Speechless, but then there's the drama with Nicole Kidman that comes out sometime in the next year or two, My Life, which is a really heavy movie. And so Michael Keaton was going through a really interesting time in the mid-90s because once he unmoored himself from Batman, it was almost like he was trying to make a statement to himself and to the world that, yeah, I left Batman because I don't want to only be known as Batman, but then he's faced forever for the rest of his career as being Batman. Like he can't escape it no matter what he does. It's sort of like Shatner with Kirk. No matter what, he's Captain Kirk. Doesn't matter what he does.
Then he made a movie about it called Birdman.
Yeah.
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 And then he followed that up with the Spider-Man movie where he played the Vulture. So interesting arc.
It's sort of like Vader trapped in the suit, Sometimes you can't escape your fate.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Interesting week coming up. And then, I'm like looking at the next few weeks. I do see just, looking at it, like we're going to end strong. There's one movie in that last week where I'm like, yes, but we're not there yet.
Not yet.
Almost. And I still need to catch up on some. Like I'm going to go back and look at the entire list and see what I need to see before the end of the year, before making a top 10. And I need to go back and rewatch Leon, and I need to watch Hoop Dreams.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do, Mike Schindler. You need to watch Hoop Dreams.
And I'm not sure. There might be a few others here and there which I would like to see, but those are the only two which I feel like I need to watch.
There are a couple where I'm sort of in a death spiral of saying I might double back and watch them because I'm pretty convinced I've seen the worst movies possible this year so far. And so it's sort of like Lieutenant Dan to another movie released in '94, sitting on top of the the mast on the boat, pointing at the hurricane, saying, "Is that the best you can do?"
Well, you saw Deadfall, so
that's true.
But to me, the one movie that you have to go back and watch is Quiz Show.
Yes, I do. You're absolutely right. I do need to watch that. I pledge that I might see that before the end of the year.
Cool. Well, that sounds definitive.
Yes.
All right. Well, until then, where can people find you on the internet?
Oh, I'm Kessel Junkie on Twitter and Letterboxd, and I'm right here on the network co-hosting Aggressive Negotiations, a Star Wars podcast with one Matthew Rushing. So where can people find you, Mike?
You can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at Mumbles3K, and you can also find me on filmdamagepod.com doing a show called Film Damage, and you can find me on Trek.fm doing a show called Tracks on the Line and Tracks from the Edge. And next week, you'll be able to find me on talkfilmsociety.com doing a show called Bayhem, where we look at every single Michael Bay movie. And I'm not exactly sure how it's all going to work out, but one way or another, you'll be able to listen to all 16 or 17 episodes at once. You can binge them just like a Netflix program. So yeah.
Binge model rules.
Assuming that I can edit all of them in time, which we'll see.
It's just around the corner, Mike.
I know. I'm halfway there.
All right. Good.
Yeah.
All
right. Well, that's it for this week. Next week, the movies that we are going to be looking at are To Live, Immortal Beloved, Speechless, and Dumb and Dumber.
A classic.
But until then, be kind, rewind.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.